Oh, Kim, don't leave me, Kim. Don't leave me. Quite frankly, I don't give a damn. Hi, everyone, and welcome to 20 Questions. I'm Joey Busuttil from Secret Men's Business.
And I'm Kim Hai from Her Tribe Within.
And today we're doing influential couples, influential
love stories,
influential pop culture that has influenced us through the time. Like, did you find this easy or did you find this hard?
To be honest, some I found quite challenging, but I think the hardest thing was picking which one would be the most influential, particularly in the later years.
Yeah, I couldn't do that either. In the 70s, I couldn't just pick one.
I know.
But you know what? Did you find that when you were doing the research that you went, oh my God, I didn't know that they went out? Especially in the years that you're talking about, like in those days when they made movies, they were actually seeing each other back then.
They were? They couldn't?
No, they were. Like, you know, like some of the people on my list were actually married and dating, and I didn't know because I think back then they weren't allowed to talk about their relationship. I don't know.
Well, I quite enjoyed watching it, and I guess from the Her Tribe Within perspective, I quite enjoyed watching how women in dating have emerged and how relationships have grown over the time too. I was fascinated by some of these women that were kind of like the turning point of the way we look at women in relationships.
Can I, before we start, I want to say one thing, because one thing that I noticed is that women, like lesbian couples, you know, Ellen is one of the biggest influential.
Have you got it?
No. But all I want to say is that it's so interesting. Like, you know, here we are in 2021, and there's not one really. Is there an influential gay couple for men?
Oh,
I mean, maybe that guy from what's his name? That guy from, you know, the guy that used to be in How I Met Your Mother. What's his name again?
Oh, yes, he came up. Yes, but he was sort of 2000s, wasn't he? Like
he's still around now. But all I'm saying is, like, there's really no big male one, is there?
No, I don't think so.
RuPaul, the drag queen.
Oh, maybe.
But you don't really see his other partner because he's from Melbourne. He's from Perth.
Yeah.
His partner.
I think maybe musicians there as a couple that are sort of.
Yeah, we'll get there. Anyway, let's start. You're first. The 1930s.
20s?
Oh, 20s. Sorry, I'm the 30s. 1920s.
Maybe it's 30s. You never know with it.
No, you're the 20s.
So I should have had an image of them, shouldn't I? Because people are not going to.
Don't worry, I'll do all that later. It's called,
wonderful.
It's called post-production.
I'm so glad I've got you in my life. Okay, so my first couple.
Sorry, before we go on, I think are you going to do it like a guessing thing, and then we have to guess who it is, or are you going to just tell us?
Ooh. Do you want to try and guess?
Just a little bit, yeah. That'll be fun.
So 1920s. So we're looking at the time where the women movement was called the Flappers. That's very flattering.
The Flappers.
Starting to get a bit free economic, political sexuality. We were sort of getting a bit more sexual and putting it out there.
You could actually show your knees. Is that
yes, that's right, exactly. It was amazing. So this couple is from the silent film era. And they actually went on to make an incredible Hollywood Academy, which is now I think still holds a name in some movies.
Is Charlie Chaplin in it? Is he the guy?
No, but he would come there for dinner and they were great mates. The man was really great mates with him.
Clark Gable?
No.
Oh, okay, tell me.
Yeah, I mustn't have picked a good one.
No, you did. There's so many.
Fairbanks.
Yes.
You know Fairbanks Studios?
Yes.
And Mary Pickford, who was like America's sweetheart. And they were the king and queen of Hollywood. So they were sort of like the first glitzy, I guess,
power couple.
Yeah, the power couple. And the thing I love, their dinner parties. They would have Charlie Chaplin. They had Albert Einstein.
I know.
Helen Keller. Amelia Earhart. Can you imagine?
Helen Keller. Where am I?
Coming for dinner?
Yes. I mean, like you know, the thing I love about Hollywood back then is that you and I could have just we could have just gone to LA and they would just say you and then bang, you're a star. I love that idea. Yeah. And the second thing, you do realize that a lot of the relationships are actually not real. They're actually put on by the studios.
Yeah, these days or then?
Then, like it's all about matching people together so they could promote a movie. So people get the romance of like, oh my God, I want to go and watch Gone with the Wind. Yeah. And they think that the stars of Gone with the Wind are really dating. And so there's this pull towards it. Especially for like gay guys. They were out, but they were not, they had to be seen with another person. So it's like an arranged relationship.
Yeah. The the one thing that struck me when I was doing all my research, and this one, so they obviously, I think maybe she had been married before, so this was a second marriage, so that this was kind of a new thing to be moving through marriages like that. But of course, it ended with him traveling. She didn't want to travel, so we had an affair. So that like this constant infidelity that happens and swinging from person to person.
I reckon it was more sexual back then than now.
I definitely think that. Absolutely.
The whole affair thing.
One more thing about Mary Pickford that I found, which I think is quite interesting too, is she was told, I can't remember the word that they used, something about her not being pretty enough for the movies or to use her voice, and they tried to stop her from being an actress.
Yeah.
But she went through it and she copped all of that negativity, and she's just followed her dream to be. I mean, now as actresses, I think more people are less inclined to care what people look like, although there's a lot of scrutiny.
Really?
Well, no, absolutely. But I think we sort of
this is what I love. This is what I love about you. Like as a woman, you are so kind. I think that it's still tough, and I think it's even.
We know it's tough. I don't think they had a name for it or a voice for it.
I mean, back then, from the talkies from the silent movies to the talkies, that was right. A lot of the people that were in the silent movies, they didn't come across because they would do all that stuff, right? and it was all like acting drama, and then they didn't find that their voices or whatever suited that romantic sort of era. I would have loved to have been. I would have loved to have back then.
Yeah,
I think I would have been.
Too. I just think that dinner party, when people talk about who you'd invite to your dinner party, when I was reading about this couple, I was thinking, I'll just come to yours. You're amazing.
I know.
All
right.
Had that 20 questions dinner party.
1930s. So I'm going to give you a bit of a clue, a bit of a run through, and then you have to guess the couple, okay? Their relationship was known as a very sincere, beautiful, and inspiring romance that was ever told. And going on to what you were saying, it was one of the biggest relationships in the 30s. They met while they were making a movie called To Have and To Have Not. So that's a bit of a clue. But the husband was 26 years old, the senior, and he was married 3 times already. So it was a bit of a scandal, like you were saying.
Yeah,
as much as we think that it was all, they were doing everything back then, So the line that you might know is "Play it again, Sam."
Oh, I know the line. I don't know the movie. You know me. I'm ridiculous.
So come on, think about the guy.
I can think. He's very handsome and he's black and white.
Play it again, Sam.
Oh, who is he?
So Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall.
Yes.
When I look at Lauren Bacall, I just see trouble.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I just think she'd be a really hard person to work with. She just has one of those faces where I think she just looks like she won't take shit. Do you know what I mean?
Good on her.
Yeah, and think about what movies were like back then. Everything was real. There was no CGI. They were, filming in tiny sheds. And have you not seen that movie?
We're naturally beautiful. I haven't. I know the classic line, but I haven't. I'm actually pretty bad.
Okay, I need to say something now. It is very, very important that you educate your children and show them a movie a month. That's from the olden days. It's imperative. Otherwise,
Shirley Temple.
I know, but you need to show them, otherwise that generation, right, will totally get rid of that movie history.
Yeah, you're right.
We're we're the cusp, right? I watch one old movie a week.
Do you?
They're so boring, though.
I think you should post them on Facebook or something.
Oh,
so
no,
I can follow your watch
people
list.
would laugh at me. They'd laugh at me. All right, go on. Now we're hitting the 40s.
1940s. So I struggled. There were 2 couples, but I decided to move away from Hollywood because I didn't want it to be too Hollywoodish. So I picked a very noble couple.
Noble young lady.
Yes. So they met. Let me just get this right. The woman was very, very young, very, very powerful, and her soon-to-be husband spotted her when she was just 13 years old.
I know who this is, I think. Go on.
They, in the end, were married for 74 years.
Wow.
He died first.
Well, she's only 13, babe. Of course he did.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Was it Fellini?
No. They didn't get married when she was 13. He saw her at 13. They got married, I think, 8 years later or something.
Is there any other clue?
Her dad was possibly one of the most powerful men of that time. And shortly after they married, she became possibly the most powerful woman, certainly in the Commonwealth.
Oh, the Queen!
Yes!
Oh my God, that's a really good one. I thought I was going to say Grace Kelly just then, but
they got married. They got engaged in 1947. So they had the first. Well, I don't know, not the first in this sort of looking through that I was doing, massive royal wedding at Westminster Abbey.
Yes.
And then to me too, like to marry the power woman. Good old.
I know. Like, did you watch The Crown? Like, did you see how hard it was for him?
No, I knew you would have more insight.
Oh no, but like like that. It's so they were cousins. So and then she's 13, and then she's a very sterling man. Think about the prince, and then he has to then bow down to her. And so the big controversy was when she was the coronation happened, the crown went on. He refused to bow down, and so everyone had to like get him to do it because he said, I will not bow down to my wife." And he goes, but she's the queen, not your wife. So do you think that the Queen and Prince Philip are the most influential couple, do you think? Now that you're talking about it.
Yeah, and when I was looking at it, I was thinking not really influential. They sort of went as a couple.
But that's the whole idea. That's the whole thing about the Queen. See, the Queen's job, right, is to be the most powerful woman in the Commonwealth, but to be totally impartial. So you just don't know. We don't know her, do we?
No, we don't really. But I like the names that he used to call her in private: Lilibet, Darling, and Sausage.
Yeah. See, so you haven't watched The Crown either.
We're intimate.
Oh my God! I need to kidnap you and just hold you to a chair and make you watch all these TV shows.
I just like the romance.
Can you imagine them in bed though? Can you imagine in bed? Oh, sweetie, where are the corgis?
Well, I'm not like.
See, because he was quite naughty in the early days. He would go and he would have. There was rumours that he was having affairs. Yeah. One of his best mates.
Rumours in all of these. It kind of goes to show a bit of a sad truth, isn't it?
So the 50s, right? So I think this is going to be the biggest clue, and you should not have any trouble. Well, the clue is that this guy was a president of America.
Okay.
So he met his partner in Hollywood. Like he was in Hollywood, and he met his partner in Hollywood, and she was quite smitten with him, and she's really quite she was a loyal first lady and a very loyal wife, right? And he's quite a striking man. He did a lot of sort of like westerns, and he did like, back in the day when
Reagan.
Yes. Ronald Reagan, and Nancy Reagan. Like they are...
I forgot about them.
I think they look cute, but I don't like them for who they.
Tell me why.
Well, because they're Republicans, and so they did a lot of things. Yeah. Well, that means that they didn't. They ignored a lot of stuff with health and with stuff when he was in power. Like Nancy Reagan's idea of not taking drugs was to say, "Don't take drugs." That was her campaign, right? Millions of dollars. Say no to drugs. And that was like, everyone's going, what?
It was probably radical at the time.
No, babe, it wasn't radical because we had HIV, we had, lots of drug use.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, no, in the 70s. But,
I'm sure.
But I find that he was a little bit hard. He's a hard guy. But in regards to her and him together, I think they were so cute. Like, if you watch them together in like a clip, she always does the same thing. She always looks up at him doting. And I love that.
You loved that.
Well, in that time, I think that was really appropriate because it made America feel safe.
Yeah.
Right? Because remember, the woman was at home.
Yeah.
At that time, and so she'd look up and bat her eyelids, and it worked. And I'm sure it was all staged. But I saw this thing where there was 15 clips, and she did the same thing in all of them.
Really?
Yeah, and then the other thing she did.
I think of her in a typical American Housewives outfit.
Yeah, I know, but babe, she spent a lot of money on clothing. So I want to know what you think about this. So whenever an interviewer asked her a question, guess what she'd say?
Ask my husband.
No, she would say, I agree with what my husband says. She never ever had her own opinion back then. And so imagine that like now.
Yeah.
Imagine Kim Kardashian saying, I can't speak because my husband's
not exactly. It's more likely to be the other way around.
Yeah. So she never had an opinion because her husband's opinion was her opinion.
Yeah, to be fair, a very powerful man. It would be imagine if she questioned his opinion as being first lady.
Well, I think this is again I think that behind closed doors she was the boss.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So she was the puppeteer on the stage, and but behind the scenes, she was telling him what to say. Because remember, he started to get dementia a bit into it, so he started to get a bit wonky.
And she had to kind of keep it together so she could keep being rich and famous, probably.
Yeah. So the reason why I put them on the list isn't because they're powerful or anything. I put them on the list because I think they were influential with the way that they destroyed the world at some point.
Yeah, right. Pretty iconic, definitely.
Definitely iconic. Got shot. Remember? I'll never forget the day he got shot.
Yeah. Now,
let's twist again, like we did last summer, the 60s.
I know there were so many beautiful couples, but I'm going back into Hollywood-ish.
Isn't it funny how when we think of it influential, we go to Hollywood?
We do. I know it's bad. I tried really hard to mix it up because it's really all. If you look up any sort of couples of power, they all seem to be from the tabloids. Okay, so this couple. Some people say she was publicly groomed to marry this man because he first saw her when she was 14 years old.
Is this the Kennedys?
No.
Oh my God, you're so good today. I'm not guessing. Go on, 14.
And he asked her parents if she could come. He was in the army at the time, could come backstage.
Elvis!
Yes! Yes!
Oh my God, was Priscilla 14?
When he first saw her, yes, and he refused to sleep with her until they were married.
What is it with 14-year-old girls, though?
Older women of age, but he kept her like pretty much in his property. And he made some comment. I can't remember what the comment was. Something about molding her into the woman that he wants to have.
Yeah, but okay. So I'm curious that we're talking about this. So why do you think there is this thing with young teenagers? Because we've already mentioned a few of those. You mentioned one earlier.
The Queen.
What, yeah, like why is it? Why do men see something in these young girls?
I'd say it's lack of opinion and authority over them, perhaps. Like,
but for them to wait, right? For them to wait, that's really big.
That's just him being selfish and wanting to break her innocence himself. And
yeah. Do you reckon that he might see the potential? Well, I think Elvis was allowed. He wasn't married.
Well, but he had this woman, this child.
I know, but she was 4. I know, but they weren't together. So he was legally, he was also a rock star. I don't think any rock star, I don't think there's one rock star, even someone that we think, even the Wiggles, right, are still doing bad things.
I know.
Imagine being in a world where you can a girl just takes her clothes off. Yeah, Elvis, you know what I mean? But I'm more curious with the fact that he had that world, and he, rather than saying, I want you, he's saying, I'm going to wait for you to get to be an adult. That's really that's borderlining, isn't it?
Borderlining what?
I can't say the word. Well, she's 14.
I know.
And, part of me, when you said, right, that he didn't sleep with her, I don't believe it.
Well, I don't either, but that's...
See, so there is obviously
it says, actually, what I researched said that they hadn't slept together, but they had done other sexual acts.
Yeah, they slept
so
together.
I guess it's what their definition is.
It's all covered up. But again, that's literally pedophilia.
Literally, it is.
Literally, yeah. So now, oh God, it's just intense.
And to me, to have parents say, okay, sure, yeah, take it, you rich, powerful man.
I don't really, it's interesting, I don't really have any image or memory except for their wedding day of them together.
Which their wedding only went for 8 minutes or something, wasn't it?
Do you have any images of them together? Do you have a representation of them being a couple? In
my head, I do. I have one, and I have one actually with their daughter. Was it Lisa Marie, their daughter that they had on holiday, and they seemed like a happy couple, but it was already falling apart by then.
Yeah.
And I think they were on holiday, I don't know, probably Hawaii or one of those tropical places, and he's sort of staring over her shoulder at little Lisa. And I remember thinking, oh, that's so creepy because he's not wanting to be there.
Whenever there's a camera there, I can't imagine anyone doing anything natural.
Yeah.
If I was being followed by cameras, I'm not going to turn around and be myself.
No, it's true.
Do you know what I mean? So it's
He might have said to her something along the lines of, he's no good at sleeping with women who've had babies or something. As in, I've tried before I decided to settle down with you, and now that you've had a child, I don't want you anymore. How horrible is that?
Yeah, I know, but it's quite... it just shows you the times. We know that stuff happens now, but back then, remember, there was no phones. Also, there was no way to, there was so much stuff going on because there's no phones or no internet. So the only thing that you have to have proof back then, you have to have a camera.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why they called it gossip.
I know.
So again, I would have loved that time. Because my mum and dad always told me, right, that, oh my God, we were so innocent, we didn't do anything. I'm thinking, what? Like, and I believed it for a long time.
Yeah.
I thought it was this really Little House on the Prairie time. And then you watch movies and you go, oh my God, you're such a liar. People were doing bad things back then. All right. So the 70s. So this is the era. No, I didn't struggle. This is the era where everything isn't real. Okay, so I've got a few here. And they're not
real.
They're not real couples. They're just representation. So the first one is sweet girl from Australia and a really rough head from the Bronx. He wears leather and she wears dresses. Look at me.
Oh, what? You're talking about Grease?
Grease. Come on, Danny and Sandy were probably they were the biggest. I think they were the biggest Hollywood production. At the 70s. Like Grease was a box office hit. I remember crying. Hold on,
it's an iconic relationship. Absolutely.
I cried because my mum and dad wouldn't take me.
Oh, really?
Because we were too young.
Yeah.
Because apparently it had sex. You know that scene where Rizzo
yeah.
See, so and that was quite. You know, I think that was a really liberation movie to show a younger generation that we can be free. Yeah. So were you more a Danny, or were you more of a Sandy? Are you good?
Oh, probably Sandy. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and you know, I love Kinnicky, right? Kinnicky acts tough, but he's really not.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to. Oh, I've got a headache. Oh, can you drive the car? That sort of stuff. Oh, there's no condom. like that. I think that's. How many times do you think you've seen that movie?
Oh gosh, I remember watching it in primary school when we used to have to stay at home by ourselves without parents around. We'd watch it back to back, so I reckon would be over 20 times.
Yeah, I think probably more.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, the next one, you're going to laugh at me, but I think this is quite an iconic couple. So one guy comes from another planet and one is a reporter. Dun, 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 dun,
Mark and Mindy.
No. And he's Man of Steel. Dun, 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 dun. Superman and Lois Lane. How many spin-offs has there been of Superman and Lois Lane? If you go onto the internet, there's over 3 billion pages.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know how many times they've been remorphed?
Beautiful relationship.
I know, and I love the fact that every Superman has had bad luck. Not love it, but it's been cursed.
Yeah.
That sort of role, and I also love the fact that no one knew it was him. Isn't that weird? Like he just put glasses on and he's not Superman anymore. Like
you look like Superman though, mate.
Okay, so another one, you probably won't guess this one, but this is a gay one, so I'm going to give you that clue. And it is when it's a flamboyant guy who used to play the piano in Las Vegas, and he was having a relationship with a guy that he met, and then he met randomly, and then he had a really strong relationship, and he became part of his show. And then there was something really twisted about it. He adopted him.
Oh my gosh, I do not know this person.
So they couldn't get married. And then it's
him.
More twisted. Ready for the more twistedness? He hired a plastic surgeon to make him look like him. So he ended up looking like a younger version of him. And people thought that they were father and son, but they were really lovers.
I don't know this person. Tell me.
Liberace, baby.
Oh.
Liberace. Yeah, Liberace was, think about Liberace.
I don't know that story.
Oh, there's another movie you need to watch. Michael Douglas plays Liberace and Matt Damon plays his lover, and it's a good movie.
But
Liberace, can you imagine? No one wanted to believe that he was gay.
Yeah.
Back then he just got away with the flamboyance and all that.
Yeah.
And to the day he died, he had HIV/AIDS, and he still did not want to admit it.
He didn't want to admit it.
No, he died and he didn't come out.
Oh,
so, he was also an alcoholic, and he would go, he wanted to have that family values thing, but he would go to these venues and have sex with lots of men. And it was quite a messy relationship, but I think it was iconic because it was in America's face, but it wasn't spoken about. I think that's pretty powerful.
Nice thing. And what was his partner's name?
Oh,
adopted. You don't know?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Okay.
I didn't write it down
because it was somebody else.
And the thing is that I don't know if we can get away with that now, to have that power, right? Well, I guess some people, we know they're gay, but if you say that, they'll sue you.
Really?
Yeah, of course there is.
What? Aren't we past that? Yeah.
No, because their job involves them being seen in a certain way.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like, their job is to be...
used to finding...
I know. But then if you're a powerful billion-dollar box office man and then all of a sudden you're going to say, I'm gay, that box office goes. The reason why we go... Yes, babe. Okay. There's really... I'm not going to mention people's names, but, there's really influential people. I've got one more. Is that okay?
Yes.
So, one was an angel. And she unfortunately died.
Charlie's Angels.
Yes, and she died unfortunately of bowel cancer, and her husband was a really big. He would have been the Tom Cruise of the 70s. He did lots of movies with Barbara Streisand. He was in every movie every year. You know. So Farrah Fawcett and Ryan O'Neal.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe I'm a bit older than you, but we're the same, aren't we?
My Charlie's Angels are Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, babe, no. See, when you look at the 70s movies and the hits, all the movies were Ryan O'Neal. So it's funny that you don't know him, right? Yeah. He did a movie every year. Yeah, What's Up, Doc, The Way We Were, Shampoo, all these movies.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So
I'm going to have to brush up on my movies, definitely.
Well, I need to stop watching movies.
All right, you ready for the 80s?
Yes.
So, can I do two? Because in my head...
Babe, we've got so much time, yes, for sure.
Being an 80s baby, these two just seem to stick together for me, and I almost sort of think of one as being the other. So the first is a fictional relationship, and it's between a young girl and a young boy whose parents don't get along very well.
Young girl and young boy.
And I think his father owned a lot of property in this TV show.
Yeah.
And she was a bit of a bad girl. She moved into town, they fell in love, and then he worked out that while he was a Lassiter, she was a... Lassiters. Dallas. No, Dynasty. No, no, it's Australian. They got I think they started dating in the 80s, maybe got married towards the end of the 80s. It was the biggest Australian TV wedding of my time.
Oh, Kylie.
Scott and Charlene.
Yes, that's why I wanted to do the 80s, because Scott and Charlene came up and I'm going, oh my God, she's got that one. Yeah, that broke all records of TV weddings.
I know. And everybody wanted to be.
See, that's an example of a couple were they really together? Or were they not together?
Yeah.
We don't know, babe.
Yeah, at the time, the tabloids made it look as if they were.
Well, that's why, that song came out, especially for you. They're together in the clip. Oh my God, are they together? Everyone went crazy. So it is very clever marketing.
Also the dawn and the, what would you call, strengthening of the perm culture. I'm pretty sure I got a perm at that stage.
Really? Yeah. So were you a Neighbours girl or a Home and Away girl?
Well, I lived just around the corner from Neighbours, so I was very much Neighbours.
Yeah.
Later in my high school years, I switched to Home and Away.
Yes, I've never watched Home and Away. I've always watched Neighbours, right? Yeah. And I mean, there was a lot of power couples in that show.
Yeah,
if you think about the doctor and his wife, that was a really riveting time when the doctor had the affair with that girl.
Yes. And Home and Away had a few power couples too, didn't they?
Yeah.
I've got friends today that still watch Home and Away.
Yeah, my dad does.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, what's the other one?
And the other one, I'm going back down another one. Pretty sure you can still buy a plate with this wedding on it and thimbles.
Princess Di and Charlie. Yeah, do you remember that one? Do you remember watching that?
Oh, I remember watching the wedding, absolutely. I also remember my sister saying the word kitsch for the first time to me. And I said, I don't know what kitsch is. And she said, it's a plate with Princess Di and Charles on it.
Yeah. I mean, think about it again, right? This is making me feel nostalgic. Back then, we had to watch it live.
Yeah, it was a real event, wasn't it?
Well, we didn't have replays. That's the thing I love, is that everyone watches. I miss that time that everyone's watching something at the same time.
Yeah, true.
You know, like I remember grand final days, you'd go out and there'd be no one on the road because everyone's watching TV, right?
Yeah.
Now we just click a button.
You watch it on your phone in the bus stop on the way to somewhere else to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, Lady Diana died, today on my birthday.
Did she?
Yeah, she did. I remember having my 30th birthday party, and then when I got home, I turned the radio on, and they said Lady Diana had died.
Happy birthday
to me.
Happy birthday.
You realise that you and I are an influential couple?
Oh, I was going to sing it like Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah. When you think about royal weddings, right, do you think it's a waste of money? Because, like, it's freaking
it would be. Yeah,
far out.
But then I guess, I suppose nowadays we waste money on very ridiculous things. And the whole planet celebrated that wedding. The whole
I know. There's something about the royals that does make you.
Yes.
You want to turn away.
After that, hey? Like
yes.
And I remember the pain.
No, go on.
The pain. All right.
The pain what? The pain of them two together?
No, the pain of seeing Lady Di handle media attention. Like I remember just thinking.
I know, but see, I got something mean to say. I could say something mean, but I just think that in hindsight, right, Lady Di had trouble because she knew at the very beginning that I know she was hoping, but I think she knew that he wasn't in love with her.
Oh, I think so too.
So she could have said no.
Yeah. Didn't he start off dating her sister?
Yeah, he went to go for the sister, but he wasn't interested. He saw her, and then. But the more interesting thing is
was she?
She was younger. But the more interesting thing is that he had Camilla all along, and that's what annoys you.
I know. Yes. Do you want to switch to the 90s then?
Yes, the 90s. Okay, so the first one is, I think, a very influential. So one is a tell me what you want, tell me what you really, really want, and the other one's a footballer.
Oh, Beckham.
Yeah, Beckham and Victoria and Beck. So how do you think they've been influential? Because I personally think that they're influential.
You do think that they're
I think they're probably one of the nicest people on the planet. I think that we misunderstand her, but they're still together and they're still solid, right? They're solid as a family, and I love that value, how they love their kids.
Thing now, isn't it?
They had that one moment when she suspected he slept with the nanny, right? And that was a very pivotal moment. She must have said, "You fucking do that again, I'm going to kill you." And then ever since, he's been like totally loyal.
Yeah, right. I just remember them being just so insanely beautiful. Like just
they still are.
How could there be two people so insanely beautiful, like inside and out? Like they were just pretty awesome. And besides, she was a Spice Girl. So
and how do you interpret her? Like, do you think that's a role she plays? Like, have you seen her?
That perfect model.
Well, to be posh Spice. Like, do you think have you seen her talk normally without all of that? How she's quite a normal person.
She's quite down to earth.
Well, she runs a multi-billion-dollar industry on her own. She's got her own fashion label, and she's very smart. Yeah. And I think that hardness is just more the fact, like, don't fuck with me because I'm focused. Because people wanted to pigeonhole those girls, as bimbos. Yeah, so for her to say no, I'm going to make something.
And she's one of the few that did. There's a couple of Spice Girls that matter, but she would have to be the most successful Spice Girl.
Totally. Yeah. And what about the fact, like, don't you just love the fact that she's as rich as him, but when he got the job as playing soccer in LA, like, they just move. And she just gets on with it. I just think that's why they last, because most people would say what you were saying before, how they say they're traveling and then they'd have affairs.
They're stuck.
No, the whole family moves. Come on, we just relocate. We're going to be together. And I just think we don't.
It shows that they might enjoy each other's company, which is very strange in Hollywood.
Yeah, but we also underestimate. We don't talk about that enough. We want to talk about the trash.
Yeah, it's true. That's
true. You know what I mean?
That's why they haven't got a lot of attention, have they? There's not enough.
Well, why is that? Why do we just, why can't we just say, oh, look at that couple, they're beautiful. Why do we have to look for the people that are cheating and the people that are, what is that?
I think we get jealous. Do we? I think we get jealous.
Do you reckon? Or do you reckon we just want dirt? Well, we want it.
The moment you said Victoria Beckham, I thought to myself, oh, so skinny and beautiful and successful. Like that's what we do. We get jealous. We shouldn't be saying it. We should say, "Wow, what an incredible woman!" Like, I want to be a woman like that.
Yeah, I've got another one.
Yes.
So this is a out of control, drugged out woman marrying a new voice for teenagers and grunge. And unfortunately, this young guy committed suicide at 27. He was
Kurt Cobain.
Yes, Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love. Like,
oh my gosh, I forgot that they were together.
Yeah, like even though they would seem as weird and wild, I think they were quite influential because they totally changed a whole generation of people. You know, the whole thing with pop in the 80s, and then we went to this grunge, and he was speaking for a whole generation of people. Yeah, unfortunately, he died at 27.
I know.
Have you not heard of the 27 Club?
No, I haven't heard of the 27 Club.
Yeah, so all these, all these famous people, Jimi Hendrix, Amy Winehouse, Kurt Cobain. There's a few.
27?
All 27.
Oh my word!
And all died. Well, they say that 27 is the pivotal moment where you become an adult.
Yeah, right.
That's there's a 7-year cycle thing.
Yeah.
And so I reckon he got really big, and then he used heroin to soothe that, but then he overdosed.
Yeah. And the drugs of that time and
heroin.
Massive. It was massive.
I know. I've got one more that one more I thought about that I want to bring up that is a bit controversial, and I'm just going to say it because I think it's gorgeous. And I was looking at this morning. Bert and Ernie, they have to be influential.
I saw that too. I love that.
Don't you think Bert and Ernie were? They're just they're like two mates, right? We don't know what they are, but they've been together in the same bedroom.
I know, and I'm kind of sad that I didn't make that connection earlier. Like,
when were they around? 70s or 60s? 70s?
Probably 70s.
Did your kids watch that show?
No, they never really got into Sesame Street. Really lost its charm, I think, about 10 years ago. I feel like it just it got very digital. It also got a little bit too much information. Characters. We sort of had it really simple. We had this little neighborhood with just a few solid personalities, and we really connected. I feel like it's just not really so much. I mean, there's Elmo, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, when you do this sort of exercise, you do realise that there are so many.
Yeah, absolutely.
So many people. Like that's sort of another one. Just saying, like Carol and Mike Brady.
Oh yes,
they were in the 60s. No, they were in the 70s. But I'm just thinking, like, you know, that's the first time I learned about blended families.
Yeah, right.
You know, and the song told us every day, there's a story. So,
yeah. Blended families were a thing of our generation for sure.
Zeros. Let's go to the zeros.
So I really struggled to pick one. So I'm going to go with 3 if that's okay.
Yes.
Naturally, when you search on Google for a power couple of 2000,
it comes up. It's Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston. Yes.
But then you scroll down and you see that in the same decade, Angelina Jolie and Brad.
I'm Team Aniston all the way.
I'm Team Aniston as well.
Team Aniston. Now she's getting her revenge.
Yeah, exactly. They're talking and texting and stuff. Yeah. But it's so interesting, isn't it? And I remember when they got together, because Friends, I'm a bit of a Friends fan, or I was certainly in the early 2000s. I remember him doing a cameo performance with her, and it was just like, oh, it's so romantic.
Thanksgiving episode.
It's a Hollywood blockbuster, and she wasn't then. And it was
is Thingo in the list? Is she in the list as well for the show? Ross and Rachel.
Oh no, I suppose they were a power couple, weren't they?
Oh my God, babe, they were the couple of that decade. Ross and Rachel.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Do you think Ross and Rachel were?
Monica and Chandler had my heart a bit more than.
Oh really? Yeah. I mean, Ross and Rachel, I reckon, are now really dating now in real life.
Are they still?
No, they got sort of hooked up.
Hang on. As in Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, they hooked up at the reunion, and they realised that they were in love with each other in the show, but they couldn't because they had partners at the time. And the way they were acting, I don't know, I think they're together now in real life.
That's really cool, except bad for Brad.
I know, but Brad was the one that cheated, babe. I'm sorry. I love that whole storyline where it says we're on a break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what do you think? Are you allowed? No, of course you're going to say no.
Well, I don't know. It depends on that. It's got to be case sensitive, surely.
Yeah. So have you got a real life one or another one?
Sorry?
Have you got another one?
I've got two more. So
yeah.
I had Ellen DeGeneres and Portia de Rossi, because they've got to be the most good-looking couple of the 2000s.
Yes.
Every time I see an image of that couple, I just think, wow, look at them. They radiate just joy and commitment. I know she was married before, I think.
She was married to that. She was married, or not? She was dating another lady that. And that lady was really happy with her, but I think someone would have said to her, "Your career's over," and then she left her, and she said that was a phase.
Yeah, that's right. It was a phase.
Yeah, and then her career bummed anyway.
They seem so committed, and it's so. Do you know what? Too, I think being heterosexual, and I guess having, watched homosexual relationships become more and more public in my lifetime. Ellen DeGeneres and Portia de Rossi were the first time, I think, people really gave weight to lesbian relationships as being solid, permanent, and actually worthy of attention. It's so sad it took into the 2000s.
Yeah.
But it's sort of, I don't know, maybe there's more before, I guess.
Well, there was, but they were the most public.
Yeah, it's a really public, really solid relationship that I love watching it. I love watching it.
Yeah. So you can tell you don't watch television now. So do you not realize? Do you not know that Alan is out? Alan is now being deemed as fake. See, this is just like I need to catch you up.
Fakely what?
Like it's what have you done in the last 2 years? I love you. So it came out during lockdown that Alan is what you see on television is all fake. Alan's really quite a nasty.
Portia.
No, I think she does love Portia, but Alan's quite controlling and she's quite nasty. And all her staff that left came out, and there was this big camp.
You always ruin my bubble.
I'm sorry, babe, but so that's why Alan's now her show's ended, and that's why Alan's not in favour anymore.
Okay.
But I think that Alan is someone that says, because there was a lot of controversies about, for example, Portia, right, would only get jobs on TV because of Alan. So there's a lot of power in there, right? And when there's power, there's going to be, you can sort of tell that Alan might be a little bit mean. You can tell.
She's definitely
tough, right? And apparently when guests come on her show, sometimes she doesn't even say hello to them.
Really?
So all of that came out last year.
I used to really like her.
No, they can still like her, but all I'm saying is, I think it showed, this is the gorgeousness about you, is that you see the fantasy, right? And then what happened last year, you're right, the bubble burst and people were shocked because Alan wasn't supposed to be that way. But in reality, it shows you that everyone's human.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you know what I mean?
It's allowed to be human, I suppose.
Yeah, and so...
in a nice way.
Yeah, and so, when she says things on the show... then, it makes you realise that no one's real on TV. That's all you have to realise.
Yeah, I suppose.
You have to realise.
Can I do one more?
Yes.
I do one more? I'm going into politics again.
Mm.
Power couple.
Mm.
American. Very
couple.
powerful man. And a very wonderfully kind-hearted, incredible woman who has written many books that have been powerful insights for women of our generation.
What?
And he... was a very kind and noble leader.
Is he dead? Oh,
Obama. He's no longer. Yes.
Yeah, Obama. I know. I thought. I didn't realize that they appeared on the 2000s. So they are
the end of 2000s.
Yeah.
So it was cusp. Yeah.
And
so
it's they were. No, I had. I mean, I've got someone else, but I feel that they were very powerful, and that they were also very hopeful. There was a hope about their energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then he came in.
And again, is it fake? Is it real? I don't know. But it was really genuinely wholesome. And she was the sort of woman that you wouldn't think would put up with too much shit.
You know what? You can put on all these things, but you can't put on genuineness.
Yeah.
And authenticity, right?
Was genuine.
No, I know. But if you actually go back now and watch some of the shows, you will see her eyes that tell you opposite. But if you do body language stuff, you can see that Alan was the boss.
Yeah.
It's even the way that she projects things, right? But when you see them, they just seemed real. And that's the thing that I think is really hard to, it's really hard to pretend.
Yeah.
If something's not happening...
Also, it's probably the most respectful relationship I think that we've seen certainly, like that we've been talking about, where they've actually truly respected each other and not, there's no
They're in love.
scandals,
They're in love.
general, yes,
Yeah.
And love their family and love people too. That's the other thing, like quite.
Well, also they were history making, the very first black president. So that was history making stuff, and they handled it really with honor and with they didn't go to their head.
No.
So in the tens, I just went for the royals. So it's quite obvious.
Yeah, of course.
So what we know, we're talking about Kate and William and Prince Harry and Meghan. So what do you think is? Why do you think? What's the difference? Because both of them are influential for different reasons.
They are, for different reasons.
So let's start with William, right? So what do you think? What is William all about? Because you can see the difference.
Yeah, he's a bit more straight-laced, isn't he? A bit more.
Well, I thought about his mother. No, I mean, so the Queen, and I think he just knows that he's going to be the king.
Yeah, I think so too. So
can you imagine knowing that?
Yeah.
Well, is he neutral?
And
or is he just being told?
If you weren't going to be the king, you'd have a different reaction too.
Yes, Now, what do you think about? What do you think's going on with what we've heard about the royal family? Like, do you believe? Who do you believe, and what do you feel about? Do you like the fairy tale, or do you want to? Are you more like someone that wants to know the truth? Because both of those stories and both of those couples are really influential, right? Now, I just heard that yesterday that Meghan and Kate are best friends now.
Are they?
I don't know. Okay. That's the thing. Like, so
I just think that Kate would be the nice person who would.
I reckon Kate's the biggest bitch in the world.
Oh, do you?
It's the quiet ones you watch out for. The quiet ones are the evil ones. Megan's just comes across as hard, but she's just dumb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's American.
Do you know what? I guess when that whole thing sort of blew up and it was everybody was talking about just that. I think I sort of had this idea of like it's a very old model in a very new world, and there has to come a time where we just have to let people navigate that situation the way they do. Like why? But by scrutinizing it right now, we're putting it under the spotlight.
I know. I know. So I'm from the culture. I believe that I don't care. Right? Yes. When I watched it, I'm not going to sit there and go and make. I just watched it and just took it for what it was, right? Yeah. But just hearing you talk now, I actually quite like that there's only a few things that are still in tradition. And I don't think the royal family should change. I like that it's traditional. We don't have hardly anything left. Everything's being ripped apart.
Some of the people we've been talking about, their relationships have been a turning point to move forward. Is there a turning point ahead for the royal family?
Well, there is. The lesson there is maybe they don't need to change anything, but they need to take the information and learn that within the house that they need to realise that they can't do that. Right? They just got to be progressive with that. But in regards to the actual association, I think I like having the Queen.
Oh, I do too. She's gorgeous. And I think, it's a lovely... But then you think about, like, inheriting that power because of your lineage. That in itself is really bizarre in every other aspect of this world. You're voted because of your values and who you are, what you stand for. There it's like, oh, well, she's my mum, so I'm now the boss.
Well, what about, like, for example, if you're the child of Bill Gates? It's the same thing. You're going to inherit his money. It's just it's public.
You mess it up. And and then you just disappear. But in the royal family,
well, I also think that we're only seeing Elizabeth, right? Yeah. But if we go back in time, you know how many times they've fucked up? Yeah. Some of the full royal family has had mess after mess after mess. Really, we're just witnessing a really good period.
Yeah.
But in reality,
but even then, there's been controversial.
Always.
Yeah. With Camilla, and now Camilla's like, oh, it's okay that we're now.
Think about Henry VIII, and he had all those wives, and think about the other queen, and she was a lesbian.
Beheading. I know.
Exactly. I just think it's fascinating. But what I find fascinating is how we just give them all this money. That's the thing I find fascinating.
Do they take the money? Where do they take the money from? Taxes.
The money comes from the English public. And they also have they have their own money
because we're in a part of the Commonwealth.
I don't know, maybe, but the thing is that there are certain things that they own that would be like, for example, Prince Charles owns all these islands, right?
Yeah.
But there would be, but they just all the work that they do, all the charity work, that's free. Like they don't get paid for that. but they get the privilege of the houses and the bodyguards and the,
okay, yeah.
You know, they don't have to pay for food or anything, but you know,
No.
but they don't get paid for. You know, if you look at the calendar, I would say I would hate it.
Yeah, it would be pretty intense, wouldn't it?
Oh my God, smiling the whole time and doing this the whole time. We're in the car
I must
going.
be really glad they're in lockdown.
Yeah, well, that's
Well,
I guess I wanted to ask. Do you understand why Harry and Meghan left?
Oh,
to be influential another way, because now they're going to be influential through the media rather than being influential through the palace.
And there would never be, because he's not in line. So I guess they had to find their own story, didn't they? Like, that's what I was saying. But being the non-heir to the throne son, do you then look for opportunities elsewhere?
Yeah, but if William dies, Harry has to be king.
I know.
Right. Really so do you think, one last thing and then we can do your one. Do you think that Meghan is the boss? Or do you think, you know, because Meghan seems like
she seems like she's the boss. Yeah.
Yeah, and Harry sort of like just is accommodating.
Yeah, which is interesting because as being who he is, you would expect him to sort of be like, oh, well, you know, you kind of signed up to this, so what are you doing? Like, you know, but I guess, is he trying to just be his truest self? And like that's
I think that he understands what happens if you don't pay attention because his mother got killed through the media, right? So he is very sensitive, and so he's more relaxed.
Yeah.
Right. He bends out of the traditions that his brother does. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I just find I think I've watched every documentary on the royal family. I just can't get enough. I just find it really fascinating, especially the staff. Like the staff dob on them. That does my head in.
Yeah. Right.
How do you think we find out what's going on?
Yeah.
And no one says anything.
Because you just think about growing up in that space of expectation. Like, you think as therapists, the number of people we see who had family expectations, like this is off the Richter.
Yeah.
100% day in, day out being judged for everything.
I know. So now, in this day and age now, let's do one age. Who do you think is the influential right now?
I struggled. I could not. I just could. And you know what? I then started looking and I thought, I'm just obviously showing my age because I Googled it and the names that come up like, who is that?
See, I know. I think there's one really influential person at the moment that is having multiple relationships. Her name is coronavirus.
Yes.
Her. Because a virus is a girl. A virus is always a girl, isn't it? I always call it a her. Like, what do you think about Bill Gates and his wife and, you know, all these, like, because now it's the decade of billionaires.
I know, it is. It is.
You know, what do you think of them? The women are, again, you know, Facebook, his wife, do we ever hear her? Everyone's sort of, you know what I mean? It's all...
Yeah. I think we live in a very interesting time. It would be, like, to revisit this in 10 years' time will be fascinating to know what 2020 holds.
Yeah.
Because we know so much about everything.
Yeah. And talking about power couples, right, then... It's also the era of The Bachelor and all those shows, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we're trying to find influence now. You know, one thing that really fascinated me recently was Jennifer Lopez, right? Like, she was with this guy and it really looked like love. And it was so...
She's been with a lot of people.
I know. And then she just dumped him and then she's with Ben Affleck. That thing to me confuses anyone to have a powerful couple.
Yeah, when I was looking at the 2000s and I was looking at all these couples, I sort of thought I could make dot points and like join the lines between all these people that have. And look at poor Britney. I hope Britney's the power couple of the 2020s and she sorts herself out. She gets to choose something because her rap sheet is just, and it's manipulated. You know, it's like so like 2020 could be anything. You know, it could be a fans only.
Well, do you think that maybe we're going to go into a time when the power couple is yourself?
Ooh,
you know what I mean? People are now starting to do selfies only. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe it is more solitary. Maybe.
So shall we meet in about 70 years and do another one?
Yes, go on.
But you know, I do realise that you and I are a very powerful couple.
We are, absolutely we are. Maybe this is the face of future.
Maybe
couples.
It is. Gay, you know.
Intelligent.
Woman
motherly.
from the motherly. You know, we can be whatever we want to be and no one's going to judge us. Thank you so much. You came up with the best list. And, I mean, who's your favourite out of your list?
Goodness me. I really enjoyed visiting Princess Di again. But... Oh, I don't know. Actually, I didn't even mention Johnny and June. I loved researching Johnny Cash. That's back in the 60s.
Oh,
They were my
yeah.
favourite. Yeah.
I think I just realised that I'm really into Harry and Meghan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really love Harry. I think I could be mates with Harry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he just seems relaxed and fun to be with.
It does seem like fun. You wouldn't mind having a drink with him
And
somewhere.
I mean, Bert and Ernie, because I saw the Bert and Ernie comics this morning.
Yeah.
It's just it's so funny and iconic because they're like this, you know, the odd couple. They're together and they're just been there for years, and we just accept them. That's what makes it iconic. It's the ease of the relationship. We don't sit there and pick it apart. And there's been only a handful of those where we just know them and we have invested interest. Thinking about
we're answering our dinner party question right here, aren't we? We'll have Bert and Ernie.
Bert and Ernie. I want to know who's putting his hand up.
I think I want Michelle and Barack. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
definitely.
Remind me to tell you something about them. I don't want to disturb your bubble here.
Oh, here we go, another pop.
I know. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching 20 Questions. Next time we'll do something more twisted.
Oh gosh.
And Kim's the best person now. She comes up with the best ideas. Till next time. Bye.
Bye.